chords are built from scales, and they're built with the same interval pattern all the time. Most guitar players learn their chords before they learn their scales, and so consequently they not only don't know the names of the notes in the chords, but they don't know what the numbers mean. If I say play a C major 7, that's a C chord, and we're going to add the major 7th to it. We're adding an extra note, and C major 7 tells me to add a major 7th to that chord. Now if I just said C7 and I didn't say major 7, I know that I'm adding the dominant 7, which is a minor 7th above the root. Okay, C dominant 7, the dominant 7 chord is the most commonly used 7 chord, so we don't even say dominant, we just say 7. So here's a G chord. It's easier to see with the G chord. If I want a G major 7, this note, where my 4th finger is going to go down a half step. I can't move that down, so I'm going to take my 1st finger up there. There's a G major 7. The interval from G to that F sharp is a major 7. That is my G major 7 chord. The interval from an open G string to this note is a major 7. That's a G major 7. If I just said G7, I'm going to add the dominant 7. What if I said G6? E is the 6th note in a G scale. Okay, G, A, B, C, D, E. That's a G6. G sus 4. Here's a G chord, okay? I'm going to suspend a 4th. A, G, A, B, C. C is the 4th degree of a G scale. It's the 4th note in a G scale. So G sus 4. Take a G chord, suspend a 4th against it, and then it resolves. The suspension is the note. The chord isn't suspended. The C is suspended against the chord, and it resolves down. Sus 2. Well, G, A. A is the 2nd note in a G chord, in a G scale. So I'm going to add an A to my G chord and resolve it down. Again, the chord isn't suspended. The A is suspended. You can look at my suspension page. I've got a whole page explaining suspensions. And if you want to call that an add 2, that's okay with me. Okay. If you want to call it a sus 2, that's okay with me. Okay. And if we want to play this C chord, I can add an F up there, and you can call that that's an add 4 or a sus 4, depending on your point of view. I think it's definitely dissonant and has to resolve down. That's the suspension. If you write voice parts, if you took music theory and you've done any vocal arranging, a suspension is the note that doesn't fit the chord. It's held over from the verse before, from the measure before, and resolves in the measure that you're in. That's a suspension. So that note is a suspended 4th, resolves down. So the numbers that you see after a chord, like C7, C major 7, C6, C sus 4, C sus 2, C add 2. If you know your numbers, then you know what note to add to your chord. The other thing about chord structure is your chords are built by skipping every other note in the scale. Here's a C major scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. C, I'm going to skip the E, I'm going to take that E, I'm going to skip the F, I'm going to take that G. So I got C, E, G. The C chord is C, E, and G. G, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. If I take a G, skip the A, B, skip the C, D, G, B, D. You take every other note in the scale and you get the chords. And that's why, since there are 7 notes in each scale, and you can build one chord on each one of those without leaving the key, the order of your chords will always stay the same. If we've got C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and if that order is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, the chord that you build on the 1 chord is going to be major, the 2 chord is going to be minor, the 3 chord is going to be minor, the 4 chord is going to be major, the 5 chord is going to have your dominant 7, the 6 chord is going to be minor, the 7 chord is going to be diminished, and then you're back on the 1 chord. So if you build a chord on each note of the scale using only the notes that occur in the key you're in, you'll always go major, minor, minor, major, 7, minor, diminished, major. So when people refer to the 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, if you know your numbers, you'll know what they're talking about. And there's diagrams of that on the numbers page.